Two of watchmaking's biggest hitters, the Nautilus and Royal Oak, have been making the rounds in the past few weeks. But did you know that these two watches are actually teaching us a lesson on how text can make or break a product? Find out how. The hype machine continued to rev up even after the blockbuster auction of the Tiffany Nautilus. This time, the source is Frederic Arnault's Instagram. In the post, we see Bernard Arnault, owner of LVMH, sporting a unique Nautilus 5740. Thus, Patek Philippe continues to be highly relevant in the media consciousness. However, while many of us are struck by the unique color variants of these Nautili, another aspect of the partnership is starting to make a little bit more sense: the co-branding. This is not a new thing for Tiffany nor Patek. Co-branding has been a thing on watches for the better part of the previous century. As it is printed on the dial, it becomes part of the design layout that attracts varying types of attention. Just listen to this recent interview from Hodinkee.
I like the fact that, I'm a big fan of Tiffany stamps. And what's so weird is I didn't know about Tiffany stamps until watching John on Talking Watches, because he had the same Aquanaut as me,
Yeah.
Tiffany stamped as well. Mine was Tiffany stamped, and I didn't really know that that was a thing. I just bought them from Tiffany in New York because Kelly was my contact. And so I had sort of like 5, 6, 7 watches that all had this tiny stamp on. As soon as he said that, and he was like, "Oh, but look closer and look closer," I was like, "Is that a thing?" And yeah, so from there, but I never really knew that it was, because it was never like a big fanfare to get a Tiffany watch. Like now, as I said, the first time I walked into Tiffany in New York, there was like 3 Aquanauts just in a case that you could just go, "Oh, maybe this one, or this one." Like it really has changed.
This is pop artist Ed Sheeran being interviewed by Hodinkee's Ben Clymer. Ed wasn't initially aware of the importance of the co-branding with Tiffany. As a customer, he was initially attracted to the overall design direction of the Aquanaut and how the text balances the visual impression of the dial. Good typography design can be accidentally created by a brand, but a good brand can use typography design intentionally. Patek Philippe's typography came from the sans serif family of texts called grotesque. Many derivatives of this text is popular today, such as Arial and Helvetica. Back in the day, grotesque is very common. It is characterized with simple and clean strokes with minimal to no flair or curves. Patek and many other watches decades ago had to use this same font family simply because there's only a handful of dial makers for brands to choose from. This is why you see similar text on many older models of your beloved watches. So it's how the brand uses this typography that makes it stand out from the rest of the market. I find it fascinating how Patek Philippe built a tradition around this very generic and industrialized typeface. Audemars Piguet, however, took the very opposite approach. While Patek settled within the limits of its branding design, Audemars Piguet actually went to the effort of designing their own typeface. They have actually made a few iterations of their current branding style, but it is generally identified as a serif family of texts. Now, serif texts have flaring ends and points. Some of these are curved, making this a stylized design choice. AP spun this off to its own style. The A, for example, was rendered with a vertical bold stroke opposed to the typical A style that the dial makers would likely have available for printing. This is a conscious decision by AP, as they also made the A and P letters of the brand noticeably taller than the rest of the text. This opens up the possibility to reuse these two letters for iconography. Typography and iconography are two distinct design elements that a product may either or both have. In many of AP's models, both are present on the dial. In many watches, the icon of the brand is very different to the brand's actual definition. In Rolex's case, it actually makes sense for them to show both as part of the design. AP, on the other hand, could actually stand to use either, since both the icon and typeface means literally Audemars Piguet. This is where AP actually cleverly emphasizes its brand by using visual direction. The top part of the dial is very detail heavy, while the bottom part has very little design element. Our eyes are naturally drawn to the detailed part of the design first, and then moves down to the less busy part of the dial. A competent designer deliberately leads your eyes, telling us sort of a story behind the design. This is our brand. This is our logo. We are AP. The narrative right now for AP is the Royal Oak's 50th anniversary. It's easy enough to tell this to everyone by actually spelling it out on the movement rotor. But the design choice here may be telling a different story for some watch fans. This is very evident when Oisin O'Malley called it out in Paul Thorpes' recent live stream.
Not all of them.
It's
Yeah.
a huge deal, though, isn't it? So much.
Incredible.
I'm not a fan of the 50, the big 50 on the rotor. I don't like the font of the
You don't
50.
like
It looks like something from a video game, or so. It doesn't look right for me for such a high horology, brand. Yeah.
You're not a fan, then. You're not a fan.
No, yeah, not a huge fan. And that 50, they could have left that out. It's a little classless, I have to say. Even the Royal Oak on the back of my watch, I think the font doesn't scream high horology to me, that font. There's someone in their fonts department who's a little drunk, I think. And they can't fire him because he's someone's nephew, But they have to tell him he's doing a great job. But look at that 50. It looks like it's motorsports 50 or video game 50.
Yeah.
That's not Audemars Piguet.
You've upset me now because I didn't really think about that 50 until you pointed it out. And
Look at it.
Agreeing with you. Yeah.
Look, we want things to be super French, Swiss. Audemars Piguet has to be the high horology. These are people who only drink $20,000 Burgundy. You know what I mean? That's what we want when we enter that, trilogy world. And look at that 50. Yeah. It's like straight off EA Sports. It's in the game,
It's in the game.
It's like that. Am I wrong?
Well, I'll see what I'm going to do. I'm gonna have to get rid of Eva just because I don't want to ruin my chances of ever getting a deal with AP.
He actually made a very good point there. The font used on the rotor doesn't embody the brand's prestige nor identity. The font feels like it actually belongs to motorsports-inspired pieces like those found in Tag Heuer's collections. Actually, it doesn't even match the 50th anniversary emblem on AP's very own website. It's a disharmony that makes you think that there really are separate departments that work on these elements of the overall launch. No doubt both of the models will be a success if it wasn't already, but a carefully chosen or placed text can actually improve or spoil great design. Well, I guess even the best designers of haute horology can have a bad day in the office. I have a bad hair day, like all the time.